told you if we broke attendance records, I'd get the church logo tattooed on my arm.
Yeah, remember back when we first started? All we did was preach the gospel.
Ooh, Superman works. I like Superman. Guy, what do you think?
What happened to you?
Me? Your dad is the one with the gimmicks.
The power of the Holy Spirit propels us.
I just want the church to get back to the gospel.
Problem is you're trying to get your message across.
The gospel?
Right. And ain't nobody listening to that.
For Good Friday and Easter, I need something big. Amen?
Bigger than the resurrection.
Bigger than anything we've ever done. National headlines.
Preach on the death and resurrection of Jesus.
Plan. An actual crucifixion.
Uh-oh.
By placing the nails through your palms in the right place, we hope to avoid major nerve damage.
Operation Stop Skip is a go. That's awesome.
You have to cancel this Good Friday stunt.
Don't be so dramatic, honey. Ooh, I like the rusty ones.
What are you gonna do?
I told him he's insane.
Been praying for you about that toe fungus.
This could be beneficial for all parties involved.
We foster a yes environment here.
God wanted me to marry you and you could be my wife.
I have an answer for you.
Hey you guys, I'm Venus Monique from the hit crime drama Vindication, and you guys should definitely make sure you're catching the Maurice Brown Show on Roku TV.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Show. And we have a very special guest on our show today, an actress known for her role in Grey's Anatomy, Days of Our Lives, and most recently, Church People, the trailer we were just viewing. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the very talented Andriani Manfredi. Hello, how are you, Andriani? How's everything going?
Hello. Great. Andriana. Well,
we got to get that right.
Really quick.
Andriani.
I meant to do that earlier. I
Yes.
always have to teach people how to say my name. Don't even worry about it.
You're a great teacher, Andriana. Great teacher. Thanks for being on the show. And you are a part of the hit faith-based film Church People, which is becoming wildly popular in the Christian community. Excellent film directed by my good friend Christopher Sean Shaw. Now, we're in the midst of this crazy pandemic, Andriana, and it's very difficult for people like you and myself, actors, entertainers, comedians, to navigate through this world of COVID-19. So, how are you dealing with that right now as an actress?
Well, it's been the biggest teacher into like letting go of control, right? Because there's absolutely, when it happened, there was nothing happening for a while, right? No auditions, no anything, no productions were in, everything had to shut down. So it kind of gave me a moment to like let go of like all these expectations of like where I thought I should be. And it was actually, I think, really beneficial for my mental health for a while. I was lucky to like not have gotten sick or have any family members who, I did have family members who got sick with it, but they were fine, thankfully. So I was really lucky with that. But I actually, my husband and I, we went to Utah for like in Eden, Utah. There's this like beautiful valley there, and we stayed there for what meant to be 2 months, and we ended up staying for like 6 months because we just needed to be in nature. And I ended up getting representation in Salt Lake City because I was only about an hour away from Salt Lake, and I started working there, and I ended up booking a show that I just finished there. So yeah, it was unexpected. I had to let go of everything to get that, you know.
Oh yeah.
In the
Cool.
least likely of
Utah.
places. Yeah.
Right. Utah. You know, you don't see a lot of black people going to Utah, Andriana. You know what I mean? I
You
mean, it'd be
know
very
what?
difficult to. Oh no, I mean you'll never see a black person on a flight to Utah. You know, I mean, you won't see that unless they're in the NBA. You know, because it's awfully hard to
I
find a
couldn't live
barber
there.
shop for a brother in Utah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I definitely couldn't live there. There is a huge lack of diversity. A lot of white people, very much so. I'm half Punjabi, so I was even out of place, you know. I was like, but for work as an actor, being one of the few diverse actors out there, you work. It's just you're a big fish in a small pond.
Oh, absolutely. I would just have a very difficult time finding a barber shop. But other than that, it would be great. So let's see. Christopher Sean Shaw says, have you auditioned for The Chosen yet?
Chosen yet? No, I have not. I've heard of that show. It always weirds me out that there's a white Jesus, I think, on that show. Is that what I want to talk about diversity? I think it's the funniest thing. I mean, I get it, but I also don't get it at all. No, I auditioned for this show called 9 Years to Neptune, and it's a new show, and I'm on it now. And it's a family comedy with puppets going to space, and there's 2 humans, me and one other human, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience.
So when can we expect to see that?
In the fall, it should start airing. Yeah, I don't have a set date yet. We've literally just finished shooting the first season the end of April. Like, we just finished it.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned The Chosen. Actually, Chris brought it up, but I don't know if you've seen or how much of that series you've seen, but it's pretty darn amazing. It's probably the best show or program that talks about the Bible and that I've ever seen.
Oh, interesting.
It's really that good. And then Jonathan Rumi, who plays Jesus. Yeah, it was funny when you said, it's interesting when you have a white guy playing Jesus. Actually, I think Jonathan Rumi actually is probably, well, he's Arabic.
That's more accurate.
Like
he's
Arabic. And
cool.
A lot of the disciples are of Arabic origins, I think. So I think they made an effort to kind of change the narrative somewhat in how they chose the actors and actresses that would play the certain roles from the Bible. So I think they make Dallas Jenkins, who created that series, I think he made a concerted effort to make it more of characters that look like they're from the region, you know?
Right, more authentic. Yeah. That's cool.
But you should check it out. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I'll have to. I honestly haven't watched it, so
Yeah, and I get it, you know, because most people are like, you know, I've seen about 50 stories on TV and film about the Bible. I don't want to see another one, but if you can get past that part and just like watch it a little bit, you'll be taken immediately. It's awesome. It is awesome. But that being said, let's talk about church people, Andriana.
Yeah.
In a film that's wildly popular. Right now, it is directed by Christopher Sean Shaw. And tell us a little bit about, first of all, how did you land the role in Church People?
Michael Monks, who played Pastor Skip, he reached out to me when they were doing auditioning and asked if I would audition for Gretchen. And I went through the audition process, and I think there was like 3 auditions I had to go through before booking it. and each time, you know, there were adjustments made. I feel like I remember through the audition process slowly like dressing more and more down. Like I think they thought I was too like old or pretty or whatever for the role. And then so I remember by my last audition, I literally rolled out of bed, threw my hair in a messy bun, didn't wear any makeup, threw on like a t-shirt, like a baggy t-shirt, and like black jeans and my Converse, and like ran out the door to the last audition.
Well, you know, you pulled it off in the film because you're able to, you play a role like that. And matter of fact, I was thinking, I said, she's got to be a little bit older than the role, but the fountain of youth, you gotta love it. I mean, to be able to, because I think your role was like of a 19-year-old, right?
Yeah, I think Gretchen, I think I was like 18, 19, and I think when we shot that, I was 23.
Okay. So wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my God. You know what? Well, Chris
Still
told me
really
that
young, I mean.
That film took about 10 years to actually, come out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, after it was shot, I think it's been like counting 5 years after yeah. That's the nature of like indie films, right? Like when you're like really passionate about something and you make it, once I mean, just shooting it is just one part, right? And then you have post-production and you have to land on an edit, and there's a million things that go, he said almost 5 years after shooting. Yeah. And there's a million things that go into post. And when you're an indie production and you don't have a huge studio backing you, right? Like it definitely makes it harder. And I'm really proud of them all for finishing it. It's a big deal to finish a movie.
It is. It absolutely is. I do not envy guys that direct and produce and because the work that's involved, it is so much stuff that they have to go through to get their finished product out there. I mean, it's a ton of work that you got to do, and oftentimes you don't get that reward that you're looking for when it's all said and done. A lot of times, you go back to the drawing board, you try it again, yada yada yada. Not that it wasn't successful, but it's like that reward you're trying to get back. A lot of times that doesn't happen for those guys. So I give them a lot of credit. Hats off to Christopher Sean Shaw for getting it done. 11-year journey. You got it done, dude. It's an awesome film, Chris. I love it, man. And I think you got something special there. There's no doubt about it. I want to say this to you, Andriana. What was it like working on such a comedic film and yet at the same time a very real subject in church today? What was it like being a part of this film?
I thought it was funny. I really liked the writing. And I think for me, the way that Gretchen came very natural to me.
Yeah.
And so, and I personally had a lot in common with that character. And so it wasn't a huge stretch for me to put myself in that position as a young woman. And the aspect of like the whole like mega church thing getting out of hand. I mean, I'm not in that community like that, but I see it. I grew up, my mom would take us to church when I was a little girl, and we went to like a very like low key, like kind of a non-denominational church. And it was super grounded. It was in like an old church, like an old brick building, stained glass windows. The church wore the robe. I mean, the choir wore the robes and sang, and it was very simple as far as like the sermons and everything. And I remember like then making friends, and then like you spend the night on the weekends and you go to church with like their family.
Yeah.
And I would see like these, you know, kind of these mega churches, right? And to me, I always thought it was comical because it seemed besides the point of what you were meaning, of what church was about, right? Became like a spectacle. It was this huge, it was like a big rock band, and you know, and I guess gosh, did you see that one video was years ago where the pastor or somebody was on I think Michael did it in the movie where they're on the electric scooter.
Yes.
But that really happened in real life. I saw a video of like a church with this guy on like an electric scooter while he was like giving the sermon. And
wow,
I mean, it's funny, but then again, it's like, I guess people of you're passionate about something, you'll do anything, right? To try and get someone to hear you. That's true. And in this day and age, people don't really have much of an attention span, right? We have social media, we numb out and scroll, and we watch TikTok videos that are like 15 seconds or 30 seconds. I don't think you can make one above like a minute. So it's like bite-sized entertainment that, you know, kind of our minds are conditioned to. So I guess I don't blame people for it.
No, that's really a great point that you make. I mean, I think the attention span of the average person in our society it's very, very, very small. You know, our attention can be, you know, diverted immediately by what was that? You know, we just don't focus on things in our culture today. And so, but I love what you said about how comical it seemed to you, because that's kind of what the film is discussing. It is comical. It is over the top. And Michael Monks as Pastor Skip was absolutely hilarious to me.
Yeah, he's great.
I thought the guy was awesome because he played that part so well comically. He was on my show a couple of days ago. I had Michael on, and we were talking about that. But and that's the issue with a lot of churches, as you accurately stated, your brief experience as a young person. I mean, a lot of big churches are like that. You know, it's like this big show, and I thought this was about the gospel, which is a very simple thing. There's nothing wrong with having a lot of fun, but I think that's being missed by these pastors, is that the gospel literally means only about that much, and everything else is about the show and the entertainment and so forth. And that's kind of what the film touches on. Chris says, what was your favorite scene in Church People as an actress on set and as a viewer?
Oh, that's a really good question. As an actress on set, my favorite scene, I think my favorite scene to shoot as an actress was like the laser tag stuff with Erin. That was great, and she was lovely to act across from. That was just like I thought that was a really fun scene. Did that make it into the movie?
It
Did it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
it did. I remember. I definitely. Yeah, I remember that scene. That scene looked like you guys had a lot of fun shooting that.
Yeah.
No question about that.
Yeah, and she's just a really lovely actress to work off of, and it was a really I remember that day and that shooting. My favorite one to watch, I mean, Joey Fatone is like so funny.
He's hilarious. He just about stole the show.
I mean, he did. He's so funny. I mean, I feel like everything he did is just like absolutely ridiculous and like, but like lovable because it's coming from him. And he's just, I think like comedically as an actor, he's very talented. He's got that like je ne sais quoi, you know.
There's something about the way he does this role that is hilarious. I mean, I think because the film's not centered around Joey, he couldn't steal the show. but because he was in a diminished role to almost do it, it's amazing because the guy was really funny. Every scene that he's in is wildly funny.
Right. And sometimes those are those can be really exciting characters to play as an actor when you're not the straight man, right? When you're not the story's not centered around you, because then you can be the more outwardly you are from the center of the storyline, I feel like the more insane you can kind of be and get away with it without people being like, okay, I don't believe this person. Because we all kind of have side characters in our lives, right? That are we kind of look at that are goofy.
Speaking of being in an understated role, what was it like playing opposite the main character, Thor Ramsey?
Thor is really funny. He has an interesting delivery, I think. And I don't know, I feel like we kind of fell naturally with each other. The father-daughter thing, and I don't know, I'm trying to remember specific things, and I just don't remember. I remember specific scenes that were pretty probably riveting for both of us to go through as actors.
Okay.
I don't know. I wish I had more to say about that, but I remember all good things acting with him.
Yeah, because you guys had, you guys had a serious, dialogue.
It was a serious storyline, right?
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah. It's not like a light thing to go through.
Well, well, the thing about it is Thor's a comedian, and he's done a lot of acting, but he's a comedian at its core. But his subject matter in relation to your role was pretty serious. And Thor was actually asked to do things as a legitimate, genuine actor in this film, and he was able to pull it off. And I know that Michael Monks was a big help to a lot of actors in the film that may have needed a little extra as far as direction on how to do certain things. He's a pure.
Michael's
Monks is just
a gifted coach.
Purist. Yeah. And you had Thor doing some pretty strong stuff. So I didn't know how it was for you, what your experience was like working with Thor. I thought he did a great job. Like I said, I know he's an excellent comic, and as comedians, it's like, I'll say this to you. I told you earlier before we came on, I was in the movie Love Different in 2016 with Jen Gotson, and I won the audition, and I'm thinking, okay, well, this can't be so hard. It's, I'm a comedian. I deal with live stuff all the time. Can't be too difficult. Well, I got in there and I had a lot of script that I had to remember. And we shot the scene, and it was an intense scene. And I went, oh, yeah, I'm done. Great. I got it. And they were like, okay, let's do it again from this angle. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. We got to do all of that again. And we did 9 or 10 times for different reasons. It wasn't even because someone messed up. They just wanted to have different takes. And that was hard. That was very difficult for me because you had to maintain that level of intensity. So I have a lot of respect for actors. And Thor Ramsey, again, he's a comedian, but he was awesome. I thought he did really, really well. And so how would you grade him? You're a purist. You're a very good actor. How would you grade Thor, Andriana?
That's not a fair question. That was 5 years ago. I thought he did great. It's listen, to write your own thing, to get it made, to get it into the process and get it in where he got it is super, really super impressive. And I think that he did a great job. I remember, there were scenes where we just kept doing it until we got it. And I think there were maybe 2 days, I think, that it was like 12 hours of just me crying, like,
Oh, wow. Wow.
but it was great.
And
Yeah, I thought he
I'm
did a
kind of
great
half
job.
kidding with you, Andriana. I didn't really want to put you on the spot like that. But
It's like,
I
what do you
thought
want me to
Thor.
say?
Yeah, I thought I thought Thor did a great job, and I thought
Yeah.
the both of you guys did an excellent job. The mother-daughter thing. I mean, I'm sorry, the father-daughter
Oh,
thing, because that's a real that is a real thing. Like, I've
mhm.
got like a 19-year-old daughter, and it's like but I love her. She's great.
Yeah.
So let's see. Chris says, did you have the pleasure of indulging in hashtag Karen's caramels at craft services on set?
I'm sure
My
I
mom's
did.
delicious homemade caramels she makes for shoots I'm on.
I'm sure I did. I have quite the sweet tooth, and I'm pretty sure I was eating those caramels. I also remember the cookies that, not to steal your thunder there, Chris, but the cookies that Michael would bring, because Michael has like a gluten-free bakery, and he would
Yeah.
bring these gluten-free cookies. And I'm very much of like a health nut like that, so I think I was like gnawing on his cookies. Oh, but sweet. This is my little sister's father, uh, Mike Smith. Hi, Mike.
Gotcha. Now, how did you get started into acting? I mean, you decided at a very young age that this is what you really wanted to do. What was your
Yeah.
motivation for getting involved in this craft?
Um, it was interesting. It kind of like I feel like all good things in my life, I kind of bump into them. Like it's not something
Okay.
that I was like, I'm gonna go do this.
Yeah.
I had taken a drama class when I was in junior high, for like an elective. You have to take like 2 electives, and I took drama, and I remember just like really having a good time in that class. I remember always just feeling really good with like the exercises. I mean, we weren't doing like Stanislavski or things, but we were like, doing things that you would give junior high kids, like acting exercises. And
Sure.
I remember my drama teacher, gosh, I think her name was, I want to say it was Mrs. Burgess, but I think that might be mixing her up with another teacher. But she pulled me aside at the end of that class, like when it was done, the semester was over, and she said, "I really think you should be doing this.
Okay.
I
Wow.
really think you should go to high school next year and join drama." And I said, "You're insane." Absolutely not. I
Yeah.
hated drama kids. I thought
Wow.
I was not loud. I was I had a lot going on at home growing up. I was one of 7 kids. I moved around a lot. The last thing that sounded interesting to me was putting myself out there on a
Yeah.
stage
Yeah.
for people
Yeah.
to judge me and
Right.
to someone want me to be big. I thought, because I thought that's what acting, I was like, oh, she wants me to be that, like, because it was like musical theater kids, right? And I was
Hmm.
just like, no, 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 no. So I joined speech and debate. And so I did speech and debate for a little bit in high school. And then I actually wanted to be a nurse. And I was able to graduate high school early, but instead I did I did a CNA program my junior year where I worked in a hospital. So half of the day from school, I would leave and I'd take a bus to Clovis Community because I grew up in Fresno, and I worked in the postpartum ward, and I would actually do all the dirty work, change the sheets and the diapers, but I got to weigh the babies and give them hearing tests and learn how to make charts and things like that. And then I graduated when I was 17. I started going to school to become a nurse. I was doing all my pre-nursing recs. And I was also working in hospitals. And unfortunately, at the same time, my best friend was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. My grandmother was diagnosed with onset MS, and my brother, we found out that he had HIV to the point where he had AIDS. Mm-hmm. And so I just like found myself in hospitals constantly, whether I was working in them or being there with my family or my friend. And I started passing out. Like I started to I'd go into an OR room to shadow a procedure, and I wouldn't be able to take it. I started having too much empathy. And when you're in the medical field, it's very important to have sympathy and not empathy. They even talk about that in class, because you have to separate, and I couldn't do it. And then I met an agent in LA, and she was like a print agent, and she asked me to sign with her, and I thought, okay, this could be fun. And then when I went to see her, she said, I went to her office in LA, and it was she was with KSR at the time, or KMR, I don't know what they always kind of change their name. And she said, have you ever thought about acting? Yeah. And I was like, I've taken one acting class in school, and she said, hold on. And she went next door to the theatrical agents, and she said, I have this young girl, here's her photos. I think that she'd be a great actress. And they gave me a scene to read, and I prepped it in the hallway. And I had my brother with me at the time. I remember I got him to drive down to LA with me, and I prepped the scene in the hallway, and I went in there and I read the scene. I don't remember if I was any good or not. But they said, okay. And they signed me. And the next day they were sending me out on auditions. And my first audition I ever went on, I had no idea what I was doing. I read into the camera. I had no idea. I went in there, and I remember I read and I looked right into the camera, and the casting director was this big Fox pilot too. And I remember the casting director shut off her camera, and she looked at me and she's like, great, can we do that again, but can you read it with me and not the camera? And I was like, oh yeah, sure, okay. I don't know. And then I left that audition, and she must have told my agents that I had no idea what I was doing, because my agents called me and they were like, hey, here's some acting coaches you should go see for go to them before you go to an audition. And then so that's how it all started. And then I started going to classes, and then I decided to move to LA when I was 18. And I just I caught the bug. I just felt like it was something that made me feel so light, and it made me feel good, to be acting. Just the act of acting, just felt very right for me. And so that's why I just continued to do it.
Makes sense. So it felt very liberating for you to actually do this. So it's interesting, because you just apparently, Andriana, well, I mean, I think it's obvious you have the look of someone that could be an actress. I guess and I'm certain that's what the agent saw. She looked at you and she said, oh, I'll be in film. Let's give her a shot. And it just so happens that you had a little bit of experience. I mean, clearly your school teacher at the time thought you had the goods. You just weren't open to it. You're like, nah, I'm not into that. But
I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. Yeah. I was absolutely not.
So I think it was identified early that you do have the chops to do this. But, God had to take you through a certain road for it to be realized by yourself that, oh, wow, this is home for me. This is actually what I should be doing in life. and it's worked out great for you. I think you're a very good actress. I'd like to ask you, because you've been involved in it for a while. I mean, I would say for 10 years or so. What's the biggest thing that you have learned about acting that's made you a better actress to this point?
That's a really good question. I think there's like a potion of honesty and bravery.
Okay.
That for me, I think are really important. And those are things that I can see in other actors that when their performances move me. Even if it's comedy, there's still a bravery and an honesty in comedy that you need.
Yes.
And those are performances that move me, and those are the things that no matter what I'm doing, I try and strive for.
There's an honesty, and I love the word bravery that you used when it comes to, in my case, definitely comedy, acting, same thing. I mean, especially if you're doing stage acting, live theater. It's like you got to nail it. I mean, there's no retakes. It's you're out there. You're about as vulnerable as you could be as a human being when you're doing live stuff. And you got to let it rip, and you got to allow yourself to step into a whole other space, mental space, and be okay with that. You know what I mean?
And let go. Yeah. You have to let it. There's these moments that I've had while I've acted that I strive to have more of. And those are the moments where the things that are happening, you couldn't plan. There's no way that you could have planned to say something away or someone and it's just like kind of almost like you're a channel and it's coming through you and you're just like on this wave. Those are my favorite moments in acting. And those are, I think, what every actor wishes they had more of. And it's when you get those tastes of those moments, and then you have to fall back on technique because those moments don't happen all the time. Like you've said, when you're doing film, you're doing something 20 different times to get different angles, and every take is not going to be magic. And you just have to it's like a humbling thing. You're like, okay, like I don't get that all the time, but when I do get
I always tell my wife, I said, just before I grab the microphone and go up and do stand up, it's like being Evel Knievel and jumping over 20 cars. That's the adrenaline. That's what the adrenaline feels like. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, but once you step into that mental space, hey, you're good. You're that's where you want to be, right? There's like, it doesn't matter. You just become this other person and you're gone. And you don't, and then when it's over, you go, I don't believe I just did that.
Yeah.
It's a wild feeling. Let me ask you this: when it comes to being in that vulnerable position, how do you deal with butterflies and nerves, Andriana, before you perform, whether it's in film or on stage? Do you have a process, a ritual that you have to stay calm and focused?
Well, I always get nervous no matter what. That's something, but I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. I think that if I wasn't nervous, I'd be like, what's wrong with me?
Right, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I'm always nervous, and I do my best to breathe, remember what it is that I'm doing, right? Like,
okay,
or whatever, what are you doing? What do you want? Where are you? The basics of acting. Remember those things before I go in. Like if we're talking like live theater, like before I go into like a scene, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Why am I doing this? Instead of jumping out the window, I try and think of that. And then I try and think of, well, here I am, this person who's, I'm going out to do this thing, to do this scene, to do with this person or by myself or whatever. What am I doing and why am I doing it? As the character, as Andriana, as that character, what do I want? And I try and channel all of that energy. Like, this is where I think like alchemy and performing comes into play, is you can take all of those nerves and all of that energy or anything, actually, wherever you are, like, you might be, I remember before going into an audition one time, I was in a really pissy mood.
Yeah.
I think I said I was going to quit acting as I was going.
Wow.
I told I was like, I'm quitting. I'll do theater, but I'm done with this film and television stuff. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of, the man and, all these things. I was really angry.
Yeah.
And I remember as I was walking into the audition, I thought, well, what am I going to do with this anger right now? Because I can't pretend that it's not there. I can't try and get somewhere unless I go through where I am, right? And so I thought, I don't think this character allows herself the right to her anger. And that's why she kind of comes off aloof. That's just something that I made up in my head,
Okay.
And so
sure.
And it felt, I was like, yeah, and I felt the energy moving in that direction. And I went into that audition and I made the casting director, stop. And she went, she started paying attention to what I was doing and asked me to do it again, and then brought me in for a callback. And I ended up booking that role. And which was funny, it's because I let go of all outcomes, right? I let go of an expectation. I said I was going to quit. But then I still went in there and I did the work because I enjoyed it. And I think if you can take all of your nerves and funnel it into your performance and not care what the audience is going to think, what the casting director is going to think, what the director is going to think, because then you're not really doing it. And then it's like, why even do it, right?
Right. And I was actually, I think you just answered my next question, because, and maybe you didn't, but I'll, throw it out anyway. But I was going to ask you if you've ever had like a crossroads experience in acting where you were like, you know what, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Would that qualify as that? Oh, yeah, it happens all the time. Yeah.
To be honest, all the time. I think until you're like, I'm sure even stars, I don't want to assume, I don't know her, but like, I think of Emma Stone or someone who's like a mega star, who's super talented. And like, I bet she has moments where she's like, is this what I should, like, I think that any person who is sane and not an egomaniac probably thinks and questions what they're doing with their life, right? Like, you're probably like, oh, should I, like, is this right? Am I happy? And I've had to choose acting over and over, and I'm sure I'll have to choose it again in the future. But I think every time I choose it again, my relationship with it becomes deeper. My love for it becomes deeper, and my need for it to look a certain way becomes less, because I just love it.
I love asking that question because the answers always vary, and it's a reality, we're talking about acting. It could be anything in life, but as it pertains to what we do, it's a very intense business. There are a lot of no's. You would audition a lot and you don't win a lot. And sometimes you don't win because of bogus reasons. Like, really, that's why
they want a blonde. They want someone short. They want someone 20 pounds heavier. They want someone 20 pounds lighter. It is literally someone's vision that you're, it's nothing personal. Yeah.
Skeeta, what's going on, my man? Skeeta Jenkins, an actor that's been in a lot of good stuff like Vindication and what was it, The Puppet Master. Have you ever met Skeeta by any chance, Andriana?
No. Is he a puppet master?
Well, he's in a he's in a horror film called Puppet Master, which is he does a pretty ingenious job.
It's because I just did a show with a bunch of I just did a show with a bunch of puppets, 9 Years to Neptune. it's mainly puppets. And
Yes.
so I worked with all these puppeteers that it was my first time working with puppeteers, and I just think they're so special. Like they're a special tribe of people who puppet.
Yes, they are. I know a couple of comedian. I have a comedian friend actually that does that all the time. But I do want to say, Andriana, that yes, this business can be really puzzling and confusing. And you can go in and nail a role, and you can walk out saying, "I got this." I mean that. I mean really. And you not only do you not get it, like I said, sometimes you find out that it had nothing to do with your performance, and and it can cause you to want to quit. It's like, I mean, why am I wasting my time? As a comic, you bomb, you go, oh my gosh, that was the most humiliating experience I think I've ever had. Then you got to wait for that. You got to wait for that bomb to get off you before you can even talk to somebody. It's like, is it off yet? It's terrible.
Right.
But then, it's like, okay, fine. Do you really want to do this? And like you just accurately stated, hey, look, I love this. I'm really not going anywhere, but it's amazing the things that, you go through mentally just trying to understand, what's happening right now. And the answers always vary when I ask people this, but we all have that feeling at one point or another, or sometimes it's like all the time. It's like, oh yeah, I want to quit all the time. I've had people say that, and I just love asking that question, because I think, and I'll add this too, I think that this business is probably the bravest job that you could undertake. Just being an entertainer, whether it's acting or comedy or whatever it is, because people, their biggest fear is public speaking. A human being's biggest fear is public speaking, and so for us to be not only do that but become vulnerable, is pretty huge. And it's like,
right, and you're a stand-up, so it's things that you write, right? So you don't even have someone else's words to hide behind. They're your words.
They're my words, and I have to allow you to judge me to find out whether or not it's going to work. Like, oh, wow, I'll have to tweak it a little bit, or I'll have to get rid of it entirely, what have you. But I have to have thick skin enough to get up there and take the comeback. Is it good, bad, or indifferent? Whatever. And, it's a big hit to your integrity. But why do we do it? There are not a lot of people wired the way that we are, by the way. We're kind of a different breed, I think, in that sense. Let me ask you this, Andriana. You mentioned stage, and I think you may have answered this as well, but I'm going to ask anyway. Which do you prefer, stage, live theater, or film?
Ooh, I think they're all great. As an actor, theater all the way, right? I'm not the first to say this. Theater is the actor's medium. Television is the writer's medium. And and film is the director's medium. And there's many reasons to explain why that is, but I'm sure you get it. I love theater. I wish there was, more of it. It's just, in LA, there's a small, I guess, theater scene, but it's not. If you want to make a living, I think you have to do TV and film, unless you have like a trust fund or something, or you have like money coming in from somewhere else. I don't know how you're paying your rent. I'm sure there's like Broadway. Then there's, if you're like in New York or whatever, and you're like part of a company and you're doing Broadway, I think that's different. But I'm not like, you'll never see me in a stage musical, like ever.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. Is there any advice? Matter of fact, let's take like a 60-second break. I have a friend of mine who's a comedian that's got a special coming out. I'm going to play that, and then we'll come right back, Andriana.
Great.
You'll never
ever hear prayer requests from people with STDs? Pastor said, you got some Christians right here in the church that smoke weed. I don't want them testimonies. The people don't. Like, the grace is only amazing as long as it's comfortable for me. That's the only time.
That's my main man there, Jason Earls. I'll tell you right now, the 7 jokes that he couldn't tell in church. You gotta love it. You know, Andriana, I'm gonna say this real quick, and we'll move on to the next phase of our. This has been a great conversation, by the way. Being a Christian comic can be really difficult because people they wear masks in church and they can't separate comedy from what they deem as inappropriate. Comedy's not always appropriate.
No,
you know what I mean?
It's where it lives in the inappropriate.
It's not always, it doesn't always fit in that cookie cutter deal. Anyway, Andriana, what kind of advice can you possibly leave with young actors and actresses that are out there that are thinking about making acting a career?
Ooh, making it a career.
Yes.
There was this one woman when I had just moved to LA and I was working at a restaurant waiting tables. And she came in with her 2 little girls. They were probably 15 or 14 or something like that. And they thought I was so cool because I was like 18 or 19 and I was, moved to the big city by myself and I lived in my studio apartment and I was trying to become an actress and I was waiting tables and they just thought that was so glamorous and so cool. And I really was not impressed with myself, like how they were impressed with me. And their mother, she looked at me and she said, well, you know what the key to becoming a successful actor is, right? And I said, no. And she looks at me and I swear, Maurice, she turned it was like there was a glow around her. Like when she said this to me, it was like she lit up and she said, perseverance. And it really hit me when she said that. And it's always stuck with me. And I really think that that's a big thing into it because there are so many opportunities to quit and so many opportunities to say I'm not good enough or it's not working out for me or whatever. If you can't get a manager, I mean, there's a million different hurdles. But I would say perseverance is one of them. Just not giving up, even in your studies, like showing up to class and really giving it your all every time you go to a class, because that's what's going to make you, I think, better. And just really make sure you really love it. Like, I think you have to be honest with yourself. I think there's a lot of people who I see who, say that they're actors, but they don't really love it like that, okay. And you can tell if someone really loves it, because if they love it, none of it feels like work, right? They don't mind putting in the hours for the audition, the 14-page audition that they get. They're the ones who show up to class memorized. They're the ones who show up who are wanting to rehearse. They're the ones who are putting in all of the work on the craft because they really love it. And I think those are the people who end up standing out and end up making a career, instead of people who are wanting a shortcut to something or not really putting in the work. That's all I have. I mean, for what it's worth, my 2 cents.
Well, now that is awesome advice. I mean, perseverance, never quitting. Keep fighting for what you want. Don't stop. Just keep fighting. And Skeeta Jenkins has he does a tutorial, not a tutorial, but an encouraging program that he does on a weekly basis where he talks about these 7 boys that were climbing a hill. And at the bottom of the hill, there were naysayers saying, quit, you're never going to make it. And 2 of the boys went down, 5 continued up. The negative naysayers were still screaming, you're not going to make it. 3 more came down, 2 went up. And then finally, the 1 came down and the 1 went up, and he made it to the top, and he got back down. And they said, how did you do that? How did you didn't pay attention? He can't hear. He was literally deaf.
What a gift. Yeah.
Well, see, the message is we can't listen to naysayers. We gotta keep fighting for what we want. Doesn't matter what everybody else is saying.
And they're just opinions,
and at the end of the day,
right?
Exactly. They're just opinions. And at the end of the day, there you go, Skeeta. Perseverance, my man. And I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of the people, and you mentioned this, a lot of the people also, Andriana, that don't really love it, but they're good. They're just naturals. I mean, they are just naturally good. They got this thing, but they don't love it, and they're not going to make it in terms of being all that they could be. Like, they could be great. They're never going to be great. Because anything that is worth having, you've got to work at it. You can't just show up. And not only will they never be great, Andriana, a lot of them will just quit and do something else because they don't love it. It's not in them. So what happens is, a lot of times people that are not quite as talented are the ones that do become great because they love it and they keep bringing it. Those are the ones that end up on the top of the mountain.
Absolutely.
So there's no question about it. Andriana, this has been a great conversation. I have enjoyed chopping it up with you. Is there any way that fans could follow you on social media or by website?
Yeah, I have an Instagram. It's just Andriani Manfredi, my first and last name. No special spaces or characters or anything. Just my name on Instagram, and then on IMDb. That's really all the social media I have. I'm not. I don't know. I'm figuring out social media still for me. It seems like it can be a time waster sometimes.
Yes, it can.
Right?
Yes,
And they have these algorithms. Sorry to make this longer than it needs to be, this explanation of the simple thing you asked me. But they have these algorithms that know you and know what you like to look at. So be careful. Be careful what you're doing with your time.
I don't hear a lot of young people say that, what you just said. I'm very surprised. Someone as
I'm
young
aware
as
of
you
it
are
because
to
I was
understand
late.
it.
Yeah, I was late to social media because I was never really kind of into it. And so by the time I got into it, I was already I didn't even have a TV in my apartment, mainly because I couldn't afford it for a long time. I couldn't afford all the cable or the subscription channels. So I didn't have TV until I think I was 25.
Oh, wow.
So so I just would watch. I'd go and buy movies, and then I would watch movies, or I'd buy DVDs of TV shows, and that's what I would do. But so even that. So then when I started getting into Netflix and social media, I'm very aware of what it's doing to me on a mental level and everything.
Yes. Well, Andriana, that's probably to your benefit. I think it's very wise for you to look at, especially again with you being so youthful and understanding the big picture like that. I think that's very accurate and good for you, without a doubt. Definitely good for you. Andriani Manfredi on the Maurice Brown Show. If you have enjoyed our conversation, like it and share it and subscribe to the Maurice Brown Comedy Channel. Also, check out Andriana's Instagram and follow. Just make sure you're a good person. Anyway, I'm sure you are. If you watch Maurice Brown Show. You're a good person to add. So, and if you came in on the end, you're like, oh, I missed it. No, it's okay because you can watch the entire replay at about 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Creative Motion Network on Roku TV. So once again, Andriani Manfredi on the Maurice Brown Show. Andriani, again, a great conversation, and I thank you so much for being on the show, and may God's peace be with you and your family.
Thank you. You too. I appreciate it.